I think there may be like 100 ether or something left, but it's like it's as good as done. Maybe we won't say that it's done, but
Awesome, dude.
it's done today. That's guaranteed.
Amazing. Congratulations. That's pretty big news.
Yeah. Very thrilled.
What's that?
I'm very thrilled. I was determined for it to happen before the end of the ICO. I thought that was pretty key to kind of just leaving a lot of demand on the table, and it was ahead of what I thought it would be and what I hoped it would be. So I'm pumped. It's a great day for me.
Awesome, dude. Yeah, all that hard work paid off. So I just got confirmation that that everybody can see and hear us. So let's get started. First of all, we're already talking about the ICO, but let's just rewind a little bit and let's talk about adbank, and let's talk about your experience with adbank, and perhaps your experience with the blockchain. A little bit about the team, a little bit about exactly where you guys are headed, what your product is, what your service is, that kind of thing.
I'm sharing this link in our Telegram, and then I'm jumping back here. Okay, so my experience in blockchain, basically, I think it happened very similar to the way it happens for a lot of people, where they have that moment where they realize they got to give this cryptocurrency thing another look, because Bitcoin was on my radar a few years ago, actually, so long ago now that I'm completely kicking myself in the ass like everybody else for not getting in at that time. And I remember like actually looking into trying to find how to buy Bitcoin and just getting like so sketched out by the process. And that kind of like put me off, and I forgot about it and came back up when I was on vacation in Mexico, where it was my first vacation in probably 4 years. And excuse me, sorry, I'm getting over a cold still. And when I was on that vacation, I was at the resort. I spent pretty much the whole week learning about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, simply because it was the first available week I had had to do anything other than work. And I run a digital marketing agency. So Facebook advertising, Google advertising, you know, those are the tools that I lived and breathed, and excuse me, still do use a lot. But that week was fully committed to me learning and trying to crack what it was about blockchain. I remember being so frustrated because I'm used to being a very, very fast learner and a quick study, but I had to watch like 20 different videos on explaining what blockchain was before it totally started to sink in. And then even then I was still kind of needing to read more and constantly educate myself. And you know, the result of that was me coming to the conclusion that not only was this going to change the world from, you know, financial standpoint, it was totally clear to me that this was world changing on so many other levels. And then I started to do that thing I think that most of us do when they understand blockchain finally, and think about all the other areas that it can affect. And I'm very excited, obviously, about advertising and how that's going to be changed by blockchain. But, you know, I'm also excited for the political implications, how that can effectively change for the positive, you know, the voting process and, you know, supply chain, all these other things that, you know, I think are just so long overdue for revamping, that are too short on trust, especially when we think about voting. And you know, obviously I'm in the advertising space, and it's constantly an activity of people being very shocked by how insidious different parts of digital advertising can be, whether it's on the fraud side or on the middleman side. But yeah, that's kind of a bit of a short overview of my history in blockchain. To quickly kind of summarize adbank, there's two kind of main focuses on what adbank's doing. We're creating an ad network that's built on Ethereum, and we're also creating platform tools with an open API that any existing ad network, whether they're blockchain based or not, can tap into to leverage our unique tools. So two of those tools being our anti-fraud artificial intelligence, which has patent pending, and our analytics engine. So these are two things that we see other networks wanting to tap in and leverage. And we can get into kind of the nitty gritty of that sort of stuff. But I'll turn it back over to you before I go on too much of a rant.
So what is the actual service or product that adbank is going to offer to its clients?
Yeah, so it is twofold in the sense that we'll have the open API, which will be leveraged more on an enterprise level by existing ad networks. But the tool that most people will be familiar with is the adbank network, which in and of itself is a display banner ad network. So publishers that have traffic going to their website, that create content that people love, they may want to monetize their website by putting ads on different parts of their website in different placement areas. And they'll be able to do that with adbank. Advertisers will be able to leverage the power of those publishers through the adbank network. And essentially what we're doing is recreating what's known as the programmatic real-time bidding experience that kind of facilitates those auctions automatically. So there really isn't an interaction directly between an advertiser and a publisher. An advertiser uses the adbank interface to kind of specify what the details are of their campaign, the demographics and targeting they want to utilize, and it will be matched up through the system to publishers that meet that criteria.
Interesting. Very interesting. So would you say that there's any direct competitors of adbank out there currently, or are you guys kind of revolutionizing this, pioneering this industry?
You know, there are some, in the blockchain space, there's definitely players that are creating tools that are addressing parts of what we're doing, none that are quite doing it full on to covering the different bases that we're covering. So a lot of people know AdX, for example. Well, AdX is more focused on bulk digital bots. So one publisher has a particular space on their website that they want to sell to one advertiser for a set period of time. So AdX will facilitate that process on their system. We will have tools that will allow publishers to do that. However, that's not really the main focus of what we're doing. And we are the only network that is platform agnostic, meaning that we have those open API tools that other networks can access. So that's something that's not being done in the blockchain space. And we have a heavy focus on fraud, obviously, because with our patent pending, that's something that is a big value add that we offer. A big difference between us and BAT, because a lot of people draw similarities. They say, oh, isn't this like BAT? BAT focuses on advertising. BAT's very different than what we're doing in the sense that they have, I would say, a totally different philosophy than we do when it comes to advertising. And they see kind of a world that almost eliminates advertising completely, really, from the in-page experience. And while that does sound like a great user experience, part of it obviously depends on their ability to convert market share to their browser, which is a pretty large ask, but it is a cool browser, and we do actually very much like a lot about what they're doing. But it is a little too disruptive to the revenue model, in the sense that publishers will have very little control over how much advertising they can put on their website. And those who are very familiar with the publishing industry know that it's a bloodbath, and cutting the amount of revenue and the ability to control revenue streams like that from publishers is going to be very difficult. So, they have a notification system. We're very much focused on recreating what works with the existing digital advertising networks that are out there. So we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Especially me being the advertiser, there's actually a lot of things I really, really love about the tools I built my career on the existing tools out there. So I want to preserve what works and then use the blockchain to completely disrupt what is truly broken, which is the business model that it's all based on.
Right, gotcha. So how was it that you guys you're the co-founder and CMO of adbank? along with the other team members, how was it that you guys sat around and thought that this was going to be a great idea? I do personally think it is a great idea. Obviously, we'll talk about the ICO in a little bit and its success, and see that others would agree with that. But how was it that you guys all sat around and said, hey, let's do this, but let's do this on the blockchain?
Yeah. It's funny. It all started with our founder, John, who's the CEO. And his background is actually as a mechanical engineer for ExxonMobil. And he was living a bit of a double life. Was obviously working at his job, but he was managing and building these websites on the side. And that quickly turned into more than just a thing on the side. And when he realized that this was something that he could do full time and make substantially more money than he was making as an engineer at one of the largest companies on the planet, he decided to pull shoot on the corporate life and go full on into building online businesses. So he actually is a partner and founder in a private equity firm that focuses on acquiring digital assets. So they buy websites, and they actually have over 6,000 websites they own. Wow. So John is very, very in tune with the plight of the publishers, and he's also very familiar with it from the advertiser side of the equation as well. So when he kind of had that, I told you about my blockchain aha moment in Mexico. His happened in a substantially cooler place here in Canada. And he was, I think he was out for a bike ride actually, and listening to a podcast on blockchain. And he just had this moment where he had to stop riding his bike and just think for a second there. And he realized how blockchain was this middleman killer, and that's really, I feel, if there's two things that kind of sum it up to like, and explain to me like I'm 5 sort of level, is blockchain kills middlemen anywhere, just about, and it is a trustless system, a system that doesn't require us to trust an intermediary. And he started thinking about all the middlemen that were causing him grief, and a big one being the digital advertising networks. So he originally had the idea, and when he teamed up with Kyron, our CTO, they started kind of putting together the pieces as to what would make this unique in the marketplace, what's missing from the blockchain-based advertising space specifically, and kind of painting the picture from the tech side of how this is all going to work.
Awesome. Very cool. What was my next question? Give us a little background on the team. You were talking about this. Sorry, what was his name again?
Kyron?
Kyron, right. Talk to us a little bit about the rest of the team. I think that a lot of people, when researching an ICO, one of the most important aspects of that is doing a little bit of research on the team and making sure that everybody's on the same level. For sure, yeah. So I'm really excited about this team. This is the best team I've ever worked with in my life. I've had the great fortune to work with some really awesome people, but never have I seen a dynamic quite like this. And I think from the first time that we all sat in the room together, there was like this magic that we knew we could do something bigger than all of us. And I think, that saying that the sum is greater than its parts, I think that's totally true when it comes to adbank. We've all been successful in our own right and done a lot of cool things, but we realized that our unique skills. We are back. Okay, sorry, we just got a little bit of technical difficulties there. My laptop decided to shut itself off. So we're going to continue where we left off. You were talking about the team, about how your dynamics are all fairly similar, and that your skill sets are able to accomplish what you guys have set out to do. So let's just continue there. Yeah, did I already start talking about Kyron before we cut off? I don't think so. Okay. So basically, when we first got into a room, it was amazing to see kind of the synergy of the team and realizing that, the sum would be greater than the parts. And I think, although that's a little bit cliche, it's just so true with our team. We've been successful individually, all from an entrepreneurial standpoint. But, we looked around and we saw this
kind of unique blend of skills that combined was just so powerful. And Kyron is got an interesting background. He actually has experience both in advertising and in technology, which is pretty unique for a guy like him, actually. And he ran a marketing agency that he actually owned for some time. Worked with clients like Groupon, eBay, NASA, the FBI. He created General Motors' first vertical marketing tool, and he was a founding member of a team that created a video game ad platform that sold to Google. So, you know, it's definitely not his first rodeo in either advertising or technology. And he's a very, very unique person with incredible skills. He's by far, him and John really are two of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. And I'm very, very lucky and fortunate to have met them, because I would never be able to do this without them. You know, from the marketing side, obviously, that's my bag and I have that down. But you know, without them, the logistics and the technology would not exist. And so that's very exciting for me to be able to work with people that can complement, you know, what I do, and I can complement what they do so well. So another team member is Kelsey. Kelsey Cole. She is our Chief Brand Officer. And she's actually also my partner in the digital marketing agency that I own called Multivitamin Media. So she used to run PR for Revlon in Canada, and has worked with some of the largest celebrities, you know, Halle Berry, Carrie Underwood, forgetting some of the other ones. She's going to be mad at me. Goldie Hawn, and her kid, what's her name? Kate Hudson. That's it. Yeah, so she's done some cool stuff. She's worked with the largest publishers on the planet. So she's very in tune with the, you know, the Fortune 500 level publisher issues. And she's also worked with companies like L'Oreal on major global marketing campaigns. Excuse me. And also has just, you know, really done a phenomenal job as a branding expert and lending her expertise to many different companies. So really lucky to have her on board. She has been pivotal in so many different ways, and she's kind of got this magic to her that is inexplicable in the sense that she seemingly can befriend anybody at any time for any reason as she chooses, and it's I can't describe it any other way than magic. So Leon Pereira, he's also a very interesting guy, successful entrepreneur. He is an early investor of Ripple XRP, and I grind him for it because I'm not a Ripple investor, but I tend to I take every chance to make fun of him, even though he's done very, very well with it. So he can't knock the guy.
Fair enough, yeah.
Smart guy. He actually did some pretty interesting stuff in Vietnam, where he created the second largest exchange to purchase XRP, and that was pretty revolutionary at the time. So that was obviously before they banned cryptocurrencies, of course, but Leon is a very, very special dude. Also has one of the best haircuts I've ever seen. So that's kind of the team in a nutshell. You know, we have our support team too that can't go unrecognized. Connor Watt is a huge help to the development side. He works directly with Kyron and the other developers as well to really facilitate kind of the genius behind the architecture of adbank. We have some great members on our team like Narcissus and Natalie that are more on the operations side that honestly, if we didn't have them, I don't know what we would do. So very grateful for them. William, who's our UX UI designer, brilliant. He designed the website, the adbank website.
The website is amazing, by the way.
Thank you. It's all William. So, yeah. You know, Kelsey and I did the copy, and we did a very, very shitty, you know, mock-up on a whiteboard with my atrocious stickman drawings, and he was able to turn that into something totally brilliant. And that's a true skill. So a huge shout out to William. Love working with him. He's also designed the screens for our prototype, and is responsible for the look behind that. I don't know if you've seen the screenshot, the preview of our prototype, but it's beautiful. So yeah, huge support from there as well.
Awesome. Just to add to that, the website for adbank is adbank.network. So do check it out, because it is a very flashy site, very cool site, and there's a really great video on there. I think it's one of the best ICO videos that I've ever seen, the most creative and the most engaging, and it's pretty hilarious as well. So who came up with the video idea?
What's that?
Who came up with the video idea?
So the video is kind of my baby, but me and Kelsey really worked together a lot on that, where we actually hired a Saturday Night Live writer to help us create the video, and then hired a Juno-winning music video director, who's a friend of mine, to actually do the filming of it.
Wow. And
everything just really went so right on that project. It was the most intense month of my entire life. Kelsey and I produced the video, so every costume and prop that you see in there, we had to figure out how to bring that into existence. You would not believe how hard it is to find a centaur costume. Thank God my neighbor is a brilliant carpenter and builder. He actually used to be a HGTV co-host, or he was a regularly appearing. So he was like the builder on one of those HGTV shows, right? But he was like a camera-facing guy. So he had made a lot of things for TV and for film, and he was like my last line of support. I didn't even know at the time that he had that experience. I've just always seen him like building stuff outside, because our backyards are connected and we park our cars in the alley behind way. So he he's always doing something, and so it was my last resort. I was like 4 days away from filming, and I sent him a text. I was like, "Hey, Garrison, this is kind of weird, but like, is there any way that you could build a centaur costume?" And he's like, "Oh, I like a good challenge." And I was like, "Okay, well, here's the next challenge. Can you do it in 72 hours and make it walk?" So long story short, he actually did it, and he built the mechanism to have it walk. When we were on set, we couldn't figure it out, and so we actually ended up dragging the legs. So if you see in the video, like the centaur walks into the screen, into the frame, and the legs are kind of just like flat and dragging behind. It was super funny. That wasn't planned, but when we realized, like, okay, these legs aren't going to walk, we actually have a behind the scenes video coming out, and there's a really funny part of it where the moment was everybody was crowded around, and we're all like, oh shit, what are we going to do? The centaur costume doesn't work. What are we going to do? What should we do? Like the director, Zach, who was the creator of the video, everybody was just like biting their nails. And then there was that moment where, well, what if we just drag them? And the guy in the costume just like drags them, and everybody starts laughing. And we were like, oh, thank God, it's funny. Okay.
Awesome. Maybe let's chat just quickly about the roadmap for adbank. Where are you guys going in 2018, and when are you going to be launching officially to market?
Yeah, for sure. So our alpha preview is scheduled to come out at the end of this month. So that's a very basic sort of bare bones version, proof of the ability to send and receive ads. Excuse me. And with March, or I should say the beginning of Q2 is our date on the roadmap to actually have the development of our beta. And a big part of our plan is actually to acquire existing smaller digital ad networks that are profitable, have advertisers and publishers. We have 2 letters of intent out already to ones that we have our eyes on. We're going to make those acquisitions. And while we are simultaneously kind of executing on the path for the acquisition strategy, the AI and the the network development will be running parallel, and by Q2 those paths will merge. So once we have that acquisition, we kind of have solved the chicken or the egg problem that exists with creating a new digital ad network. Why would publishers come onto a network that doesn't have advertisers, and why would advertisers use a network that doesn't have publishers, right? So it's kind of a funny problem that I feel like most that are trying to do something similar have not thoroughly thought out. And so that's a big first step for us. And we have some other, I would say, pretty clever ways that we will ramp up adoption. But really the big thing is having that proof of concept with our acquisition and the network there, and transferring them over to our technology, and then scaling from there.
Right. Awesome. So I think the last thing that we can talk about here is the ICO. A lot of people wanted to get involved in Canada, myself being one of them. And of course, that wasn't a thing. Apparently, it's not a thing in America either. So maybe you've already explained it to me, but I think that a lot of people are looking for an explanation as to why Canadians can't invest in a Canadian company.
Yeah, I know. I've had a lot of pissed off Canadians, which breaks my heart because I love Canadians. But yeah, unfortunately, and with Americans, we were able to accept verified accredited U.S. investors as per SEC regulations. In Canada, so this is at the advice of our legal team. That essentially we were advised to just steer clear altogether of the public sale. There's a lot of vagueness around some of the laws that have to do with securities and how that affects ICOs and cryptocurrencies. And what's kind of cool though is that the Ontario Securities Commission have vocalized some level of support for wanting to figure out ICOs and their interest in kind of this new model. The gray area that still kind of exists around there made it such that it was the right thing to do to exclude Canadians. It sucks and I hate it, but ultimately it was the right thing to do. And I do think that regulation will be good in this sense. And what a lot of people don't know is that ICOs that are promoting in Canada are breaking the law. And that could prove to be troublesome down the road for them and possibly their token holders. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't really speculate on what that means, but I know that we pay our legal team a very big, decent chunk of change. And,
as most legal teams.
yeah. There's really no poorly paid lawyers, despite what they may claim. And I'm the kind of guy that, if I'm going to pay somebody who's a professional to provide advice, I'm going to take that advice. So, I wish that there was a little more clarification on some of that, but unfortunately, it's kind of the restrictions that we're working under right now, and hope that we can, well, really, actually, it's not a matter of hoping if we can accept them in the future once our platform is live, which is a key aspect of having a utility token, which the adbank token is. There actually has to be utility and purpose for that token. There's got to be somewhere to use it. And when our platform goes live in March or Q2, Canadians and Americans will be able to use that, and they'll be able to access everything that comes along with the adbank ecosystem. So I'm super excited for that. And anybody from Canada that wanted to get in the ICO, I'm very, very sorry. As this is the most Canadian apology possible. I'm so terribly sorry. It is not what I wanted at all. But I am still grateful for your support, even though we weren't able to accept it in the form of Ether. And please reach out and join us on Telegram. We still would love to have you as a part of the community in the meantime.
Awesome. So something that you actually disclosed to me about 45 minutes ago is that you guys have pretty much hit your hard cap for the ICO. So congratulations. Yeah, that's pretty big news.
Thank you. Yeah, so the official word has not broken through yet, but
sorry if I'm letting the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, we're kind of letting the cat out of the bag here for sure. Yeah, the hard cap will be hit today. So that is there is I would say it's a guarantee, but I hate being the guy that says guarantees, and because you never know what happens. But at the pace that we've been moving at, like we should be literal minutes away, and possibly by the time I get off of this interview, I could very well have an email and probably actually 50 text messages in the event of the hard cap hit. You know, party emojis and all that stuff. So I'm very, very happy to be in that situation before the end of the ICO. And I'm very grateful for the support and just kind of the interest that we've seen, especially in the last week, has been crazy. So very, very exciting.
Awesome. So for people that don't quite understand what an ICO is and how it works and where the money goes, can you explain that a little bit to us? Like, where does this either go? Do you guys cash it out to fiat and spend it on lawyers and infrastructure, or do you spend it on what do you do with that ether that you guys are getting from the ICO?
Yeah, so an ICO stands for initial coin offering, and it is essentially a modern fundraising vehicle. And so what we're using our ether for, and actually it's a good question, how much of that will go to fiat? Basically, as much as it has to. I'm personally, you know, I'm very bullish on Ethereum. So I would be reluctant to put any of it into fiat any sooner than necessary. But obviously, unless we can negotiate with the ad networks that we're going to acquire to accept Ether, we'll probably have to use some to convert to cash in that case. We're obviously using a lot of it on development as well. So we're creating some very high-tech artificial intelligence that is addressing the issue of ad fraud, which is enormous, in a way that has not been done before and is not possible with a fiat-based or even other type of cryptocurrency system that would, or an ad network that would run on fiat or on even if it was running on Bitcoin or Ethereum. We can't do what we want to do to the level that we are doing it with any other type of currency, whether it's crypto or not. And so to kind of tie into that, that really goes hand in hand with why the token is important. And the short answer, and also me being the CMO, I wouldn't want to step on our CTO's toes too much and not do his tech justice fully in my explanations, because I'm the guy that likes to simplify things. But the simple answer is that we can't track your dollars end to end, right? So the second that a dollar leaves an ad network, we can't track your bank accounts, we can't track your credit card statements. So the ability to follow the money is gone. And when you think about Bitcoin and Ethereum or whatever cryptocurrency you want to think of, we can't easily differentiate advertising transactions from non-advertising transactions. So what having our own token allows us to do is cut down the signal to noise ratio so that the artificial intelligence has the cleanest possible data to operate from to differentiate from human versus non-human traffic.
Awesome. Very, very interesting. I think that wraps it up for now, man. I want to really thank you again. I know you're a busy guy. I watch the Telegram channel. I watch you trying to field all the questions and concerns and issues. And man, you've really got your plate full. So I do highly appreciate you spending the time with me today doing this. And for everybody in Victoria, we hope to bring Angelo to town for a workshop that we're going to have downtown Victoria. We haven't disclosed much of the details yet because we're still a little bit foggy on some of them, but I do look forward to meeting you in person soon. Once again, adbank's webpage is adbank.network. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Telegram. There's a few thousand people in your Telegram, so it's very, very active. Yep. Anywhere else and anything else that anybody should check out?
You know, I would say if you have any other questions, you know, we don't have a super huge amount of time on this interview to cover everything. So I wouldn't be surprised if you do have any other questions. There are no bad questions. You know, due diligence is very important. So if you think it's important, we think it's important, and we want to answer it. And you know, the odds are is that we already have a polished answer somewhere for you in the form of a blog or a video. And if not, you know, the right team member will address it, whether it's on Telegram. Telegram's a great place to go, so I would say start there. But if you go to our website, you have full access to each individual team member's emails. All of our LinkedIn profiles are on there. So, you know, we're an open book. We've got nothing to hide, a lot to lose. So, you know, anything that you want to discuss, we're here to discuss it with you.
Awesome. Thanks again, Angelo, for your time. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody else appreciates it too. Looks like we've had quite a few people check out the stream. We'll keep it going on YouTube. And man, I really am looking forward to shaking your hand and meeting you soon, having some beers in the penthouse downtown.
Oh, yeah.
Enjoy your weekend and congratulations on the ICO success. We really appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Cheers, you too, brother.
Thank you, sir.